I'm Kevin Mims with the Invading Sea, a Florida-wide media collaborative that reports on climate change in the state. As part of that effort, we started The Business of Climate Change, a weekly interview with businessmen and women whose companies are either affected by the warming climate or address climate challenges. Today's conversation is with Jason Bird, the Florida Resilience Practice Leader and U.S. South Water Resources Solutions Lead with Jacobs Engineering Group. Jason, thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you, Kevin.
Jason, first, can you briefly discuss your work with Jacobs in Florida?
Sure. As the Florida Resilience Lead, I bring my expertise in natural hazard and climate resilience to enhance long-term performance of infrastructure in the face of climate uncertainty. At Jacobs, we take a holistic look at all natural, climate, and man-made hazards to inform project planning and design, which ultimately reduces the cost of ownership for our clients. Our approach focuses on operational continuity via an all-hazard risk reduction and enhanced system reliability. We are currently working with numerous public and private sector clients here in Florida and beyond to identify and mitigate current and future risks through comprehensive forward-looking planning, design, and operations.
Got it. Jason, you're also involved with the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reductions, a RISE network. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was elected as the ARISE US Network Chair, which I served from 2019 to 2020. A new board was recently elected earlier this year, which is being led by Dr. Peter Williams, former IBM Chief Innovation Officer. Jacobs continues to be involved as a member of ARISE, which is focused on disaster risk reduction and resilience for private sector through public sector collaboration and knowledge sharing. Building on the Sendai framework, ARISE employs a robust framework called the 10 Essentials to evaluate risk and identify adaptation actions. This organization is free to join and offers a vast network of industry leaders working toward common goals, sharing lessons learned and providing open source tools and resources to reduce disaster risk. My role at ARISE is well aligned with my work at Jacobs, enabling us to collectively reach a broader audience across public and private sector to help these organizations advance their position on their resilience journey.
Got it. So, Jason, from your point of view, what are the most critical issues that Florida communities and businesses need to address for sustainability and resiliency?
Well, that's a great question. And in fact, I'd like to start by, framing sustainability and resilience, because there's a lot of discussion around these two, sometimes called buzzwords, and they're both very important for projects and for communities. Uh, we like to think of sustainability as our impact on the environment, and resilience is about the how the environment may impact us. And you can be sustainable and not resilient, and resilient and not sustainable, depending on the framework and the definition used to evaluate a given project or community. So it's important to broaden your lens again and think about both of these as part of the way we plan, deliver, and operate infrastructure in communities. And so with that awareness, sustainability has been around for decades. It's very well understood and supported across public and private sector here in Florida and beyond, and has been proven with guidance like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, uh, um, as well as rating systems like GBC LEAD and Envision, as well as policies across many communities to support its continued implementation. Resilience, we think, is really following a very similar path as sustainability was over its infancy, really beginning to become more common knowledge across industry, starting to inform policy and funding, and really becoming integrated across the industry. Over the past decade, much of the climate planning and investment has occurred at the local government level. However, in recent years, significant strides have been gained at the state coastal protection, FTEP, and new legislation requiring a sea level rise study called the SLIP study for state-funded projects, as well as new recent announcements around significant funding, potentially up to $1 billion, focused on helping communities mitigate coastal flood risk and severe storm risk, which every year costs our state billions of dollars from severe weather impacts. So these elements, really coupled with the awareness, is very important for us as a state. The most critical opportunity I see is related to resilience is the need for regulatory state agencies to adapt a clear and forward-looking stance on climate risk and develop guidance and policy to drive local government actions. Recognizing that there's been a lot done in recent years, but there's still a long way to go to move from a stance where we're really focused on historical conditions to a position where we're preparing for the conditions to come.
So, Jason, what's your outlook on where things stand in Florida? How difficult will it be for us to achieve resilience?
Well, I think it's very possible. We have the technology, the knowledge, the skills. We know what needs to be done. It's just a matter of moving into a position where we begin to execute what we know and execute our plans. So, with the significant state and federal funding available in the next few years, it's a tremendous opportunity for us to be bold with our actions. We can't continue to rely on the regulations to dictate minimum design criteria. We need to move beyond that, recognizing that many of these policies are, as I said, focused on historic conditions rather than future. Plan and design, build, invest in infrastructure based on historical conditions. We're continuing to build at-risk infrastructure, which is something that we want to get ahead of the curve and ensure that we're investing in our future. So making this paradigm shift requires a clear and concise guidance related to the use of future projections with the regulatory environment, especially considering the uncertainty of the future conditions and the concerns for the added costs associated with them. So we are moving in this direction, as I said. The pace of change is very slow, and we hope to help accelerate that and move it forward to ensure that we don't miss out on the opportunities for the investment coming.
Jason, what can the Florida legislature do to help?
Well, the new Office of Resilience and the actions at the state level are all positioning very well to help support these challenges in the coming years. The state can greatly benefit from having model codes and policies, very clear guidance on the use of future projections and conditions, such as sea level rise and future rainfall intensities and volumes, and their application towards project planning and design as soon as possible, ideally in advance of the upcoming infrastructure spending bills. By making a clear shift from planning and design based on historic conditions to a more forward-looking stance that includes future sea level rise and rainfall, we each stand a much better chance of being prepared for future severe weather events. This preparation will reduce insurance claims and property losses and position Florida to bounce forward after each storm event. Also, additional education and financial incentive programs could help to communicate the responsibility each and every property owner has in understanding and mitigate their own risk, which will begin to build a collaborative environment between the public and private sector, where homeowners and business owners and communities can work together toward common goals of reducing risk and maintaining property values. This collaboration is, in my opinion, is key, is critical to elevating the risk reduction and resilience of entire communities, because a community is only as strong as its weakest link. And if every part of that community isn't uplifted and work together toward common goals, then there will continue to be risks that are not addressed. And with all these parties working together, we'll be able to achieve a resilient Florida.
Jason, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.